How did the Great Ormond Street Hospital come to be born? Its beginnings are firmly rooted in their time and are linked to important figures such as its founder, Dr. Charles West, and its most celebrated early benefactor and formidable champion, Charles Dickens. In the early days, most of the hospital's patients came from the slum districts within a short walking distance. Dr. Charles West, the founder of Great Ormond Street Hospital, was a driven, pioneering man. He was a lecturer at Bart's. His lectures were published as a book, Lectures on Diseases and Childhood, in 1848, and were a great success, being widely translated and printed in 7 editions. West retired from active service at Great Ormond Street Hospital in February 1875. He died in 1898 at the age of 82. Charles West stated, "The foundation at a hospital for sick children was the dream of my youth and the occupation of 30 years of manhood." Who was Great Ormond? The first Duke of Ormond had an eventful life at the court of Charles II. One of the most notable incidents saw him narrowly escape with his life on the evening of December 6th in the year 1670 as he returned to his residence at Clarence House. He was ambushed by his arch-enemy, Colonel Blood, and 4 other assailants who tried to carry him off for the purpose of either ransom or murder. James Butler, Duke of Ormond, born 1610, died 1688. The first home of the hospital for sick children in the street named after Ormond was already familiar with medical practice. The well-proportioned Queen Anne townhouse at number 49 had been the home of an eminent physician, Dr. Richard Meade. Meade, who had died almost 100 years before the hospital was founded, was physician to many famous people including Queen Anne, George II, and Isaac Newton. On February 14th in the year 1852, with no apparent ceremony, the porter opened the doors to what was now the Hospital for Sick Children. The large extension that Meade had built for his library became the first hospital ward. At this time, there were just 2 physicians, Dr. West and Dr. William Jenner, and 10 beds. The number of beds would triple by the end of the hospital's first year. The stated aims of the hospital on opening in 1852 were, number 1, to provide for the reception and maintenance of medical treatment of the children of the poor during sickness and to furnish them with advice, i.e., advice to the mothers of those who cannot be admitted into the hospital. Number 2, to promote the advancement of medical science, generally with reference to the diseases of children, and in particular to provide for the more efficient instruction of students in this department of medical knowledge. And number 3, to disseminate among all classes of the community, but chiefly among the poor, a better acquaintance with the management of infants and children during illness by employing it as a school for the education and training of women in the special duties of children's nursing. Queen Victoria was the first monarch patron of the hospital. The tradition has continued ever since. In 1852, she made a donation to the hospital. With royal endorsement, the hospital's name became emblazoned on the minds of the Victorian public. Great Ormond Street Hospital could now be confident of being able to move forward with its mission of treating the child first and always. The hospital grew during the second half of the 19th century, first through the purchase of 48 Great Ormond Street in 1858, and then in 1875 with the opening of its first purpose-built hospital building. As the hospital grew, more people were needed to staff it, and more specialized roles were created. The large wards in the 1875 building, known as the Hospital in the Garden, were warmed by open fires in the center and had polished wooden floors. Parental visiting was initially encouraged. Parents were allowed to see their children 4 days a week and were encouraged to help the nurses, particularly with washing the clothes and bedding. Great Ormond Street Hospital's association with major literary figures began with Charles Dickens within weeks of the hospital's opening, and it has continued ever since. It is one of the most fascinating and perhaps unexpected features of the hospital's history. But it seems likely that this literary connection is no coincidence. The hospital is in Bloomsbury, after all, a place inseparable from literature. Thanks to his gift of Peter Pan in 1929, M Barrie is perhaps the writer of the most famous link to Great Ormond Street Hospital. Great Ormond Street Hospital is famous for two things: making sick children better and being the second home of Peter Pan, the eternal boy who became a global icon. In 1929, M Barrie's gift to the hospital of the copyright of Peter Pan was a remarkable act of generosity. Peter Pan has become as much a part of the hospital's identity as the very buildings it is housed in. Beyond the fact that the royalties from Peter Pan have raised so much money for the hospital, Peter is such an enduring symbol of childhood and an inspiration for sick children that it's hard to think of a more appropriate character to be linked with the Great Ormond Street Hospital. It is said of Barrie that he, more than anyone, was a child who would simply not grow up. Characteristically brief remarks in his notebooks from 1878, when he was 18, seem to offer evidence of this. Greatest horror. Dream I am married. Wake up shrieking. Grow up and have to give up marbles. Awful thought. Barrie tried his best not to give up his pursuits of childhood. He loved playing games for much of his adult life. In 1890, he founded his own cricket team, the Allahack Berries, which played regularly for the next 23 years. He also enjoyed fly fishing and devised adventures for children, such as playing pirates, in which Barrie was a Captain Hook-like character called Captain Swarthy, a dark and sinister figure who displayed despicable cowardice in the face of his young antagonist. Barrie's gift of the copyright of Peter Pan to the Great Ormond Street Hospital provided a steady income and inaugurated Peter as a very important person there. Barrie discreetly attended the first performance of the play at the hospital in 1929. That was a tradition that continued for many years. Peter's influence can still be felt in numerous ways at the hospital today. Great Ormond Street Hospital is founded through charity. Charity funding is still required by Great Ormond Street Hospital to finance pioneering research and achieve excellence in all areas of its work. We want the hospital to continue delivering the best possible treatments to its patients and to remain one of the best children's hospitals in the world. We hope you can help. To find out how to get involved, go to www.gosh.org. I hope this video has enlightened you on the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. If you've enjoyed this video, you can purchase the book. This video was created using a book called The Remarkable Story of Great Ormond Street Hospital, written by Kevin Telfer, Kevintelfer, and he has also written a book called Peter Pan's First 11. If you would like to purchase this book, you can find it on Amazon, or you can visit www.kevintelfer.com.